Coming up next on Rugby Wrap-Up, USA 7s, CRC 7s, and Bloodfest. Rugby Wrap-Up brought to you in part by The Balanced Palate, nutrition for peak performance, and the Pig and Whistle on West 36th Street, the world's best rugby pub. Hey everybody, welcome back to Rugby Wrap-Up. Matt McCarthy and Steve Lewis at the Fantasy Sports Network, Studio 34 in New York City, talking rugby. And Steven, since you are the Sevens czar, we have to talk Sevens.
Great, where do you want to start?
I want to start with a team called the Eagles.
Eagles, okay. USA national team. 2019 is the Annus Mirabilis. For all you Latin speakers, that means the miracle year. Best year ever for American rugby, 7s or 15s. So the men finished up last week in Paris. They made their 10th consecutive semi-final and finished second overall in the World Series, which is an unbelievably astonishing consistency of top performances. So kudos to them, Mike Friday, Phil Greening, Tony Rockus, the coaching staff, and then also what I think is really a golden generation now of American Sevens players. Between Barrett, Pinkelman, Thomason up front. You got the pace superstars, Isles and Baker on the wide channels, Madison, and unfortunately Falau broke a leg during this tournament, so hope he's on the road to recovery. But anyway, golden generation, terrific year, groundbreaking year. Just got pipped at the post by a surging Fiji, who really came onto form in the last 2-3 tournaments. And so they've got their berth in Tokyo. They're going to the Olympics. So fantastic year for them. Yeah,
it was crazy. It was all the second place finishes in a row out of the gate. And what's great about them is that they are a diverse team with talents across the board in different areas. And yet, you mentioned the speedsters. But the speedsters have developed into rugby players.
Oh, no question. I mean, Carl and I 4 or 5 years ago was a one-trick pony, right? Just pure pace. He's developed into a pretty savvy rugby player. Yeah. He knows his way around a sevens field, and so that contributes a great deal more. The trick now for Mike Friday is how does he sort of cotton wool the squad all the way through next year's World Series until the Olympics? Yeah. I mean, is he going to blood players in the early part of the season, then bring back the top guys to get that cohesion? Does he risk playing them a full year? It's going to be an interesting to see what he does from that perspective.
It's a great luxury to have that they've never had before.
Yeah, this early qualification, exactly. It allows you to do things that, you're not scrambling. The nerves aren't on the whole time. The pressure isn't on coaches and players, the program. So it's been great, that early qualification. And at the same time, we should recognize the women's program. They are also second, which is also a phenomenal achievement.
Yeah, crazy.
Under Chris Bryan. But they actually just have to step on the field in Biarritz. The week after next is the final qualifier, and they're probably going to end up second as well, and they will have, secured their berth in Tokyo. So fantastic year for American Sevens.
But that guy Chris Brown, you like him? He's always been a nasty guy. That guy Chris Brown. Just kidding, Chris. Chris has been here on our second show, I think. Great guy, and it's just a great thing to see with both programs, and exciting. And now we have Olympic fever going on, but we also have a feeder program of sorts for USA Rugby's sevens teams.
Yeah, so where's the next generation coming from, right? And so there's been some, the Eagle squad is deepened out a little bit this year, but it's still pretty thin. There's going to be some issues with the success of the MLR, Major League Rugby, the 15-a-side version, which we all want to succeed. It's putting pressure on the player pool. So with 3 new teams coming in, there are more players getting sort of hoovered up and sucked up into MLR that won't be available for sevens. So the men's domestic sevens clubs program is going to be under stress. Consequently, you have to go to college. You have to identify players earlier and develop them earlier. So the CRC is the Collegiate Rugby Championship put on by United World Sports in Philadelphia last weekend is absolutely the major venue, the major sort of proving ground for young talent. So it was another fantastic weekend. Talon Energy Stadium, you've been there, announced there. The tournaments were won by Lindenwood on both the men's and the women's. So that's back to back. For the Lindenwood women, they managed to put one over my Army girls in the final, but I was very proud of the Army women. They had a great tournament, beat Navy, an important thing.
Beating Navy, it seems to be, that's like, for Army, that's the thing, right?
That's it, squish the squids. Also of note, the two MVPs, Wesley White of Lindenwood for the men, and then Sammy Sullivan of Army for the women. Very proud of her.
A lot of alliteration going on there.
Yeah, it was. So Sammy Sullivan, watch that name, that name. Why are Lindenwood good? Success breeds success, right?
Why are Lindenwood good?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So good coaching, right? Josh Macy for the men, Billy Nicholas for the women. That's a part of it. Their ability to recruit, obviously, is a part of it. Billy Nicholas, very good recruiter. And players go where they go where success is. They go where other good players are. It sort of creates its own momentum. And so Lindenwood's a relatively small school, numbers-wise and everything else, but it's a big school in rugby. And that was the other aspect of the weekend for me, was selecting for the Collegiate All-Americans. So just trying to work out who's where, who's on form, who should be brought up and who should we look at for Rugby Time in Glendale, which is the next big tournament.
Did you get a few dollars under the table from somebody Iona boys? Hey, come on, hey, get us on the map here, guy. For All-American. How you doing?
Got some pretty lengthy texts from Bruce McLean. If
I would imagine. Oh, Bruce McLean, we love you, my friend.
We do indeed.
So, Steve, will the U.S. Sevens pool players be involved in the Rugby World Cup 15s? September.
I don't know how many actually cross over anymore. I think,
like Pinkelman maybe?
Yeah, but I mean, it's, yes, capable of, good enough too, absolutely. But in terms of training loads and, how far along now is Gary Golden, his preparation, they get games coming up. If the Sevens guys, I don't see too many crossing over. Maybe one or two at most, but I really don't see it.
The thing is, the last time around, Danny Barrett and Andrew Durtalo were in phenomenal shape. They had come off a phenomenal campaign with the Sevens program, but they were a bit light, to play flanker.
Absolutely.
And that's an adjustment. And, Danny and Andrew, I talked to them about that, and they were like, yeah, we'd like to be a little bit heavier, but interesting to see how that'll come out. But in the meantime, we do have some more American Sevens on the American landscape down in Texas. And joining us right now about the Bloodfest Sevens is Mr. Chris Hansen from Austin. Chris, you down there? Can you hear us?
Yeah, how's it going? Steve, Matt, how are y'all?
There he is. So, Chris, you got a big tournament coming up. I think it's your 22nd annual Bloodfest Sevens.
Correct. 22nd annual Bloodfest Sevens. Going to be at Round Rock Multipurpose Complex on June 22nd.
And I think you got the capacity for something like 90 teams, if I'm not mistaken. You got 10 pitches, 5 of which are turf fields, 5 of which are grass, including the venue that the Austin Elite played their Major League Rugby matches on last year.
Correct. Our event director, Ryan Walker, did a great job of expanding out. And so we have Friday night to Sunday morning now. So we've been able to grow the amount of teams we can have there.
All right. So you and I spoke a little bit off camera, and I think you said that Friday night, the Friday Night Lights were the kindergarten kids through 8th grade. Is that right?
That's correct. My 6-year-old will be out there playing.
All right. So from what I gather, you have different divisions. You have, I think, the Premier, you got your Open, you got your Social, and then you have your Super Social. Let's start with the Premier. Who's in that?
Well, Premier coming back to defend their title in Premier will be the Dallas Reds, who had a phenomenal Sevens program last year. They actually went up last year and won a Super Qualifier, and so they'll be coming back to Bloodfest this year to also defend their title. Of course, the Huns will be in there. We have a Premier side in there. We have U.S. Air Force, who's put a side in, and some other various programs from around the nation, and a couple of international teams as well. The Premier, actually, we have a cash prize this year, so it attracts a lot of teams for both men's, women's, and high school boys, and that's $1,000 to the winner.
That's pretty cool. I got sitting next to me is one of the top Sevens coaches on the planet. I mean, you guys ought to have some synergy in getting him down there to scout some of these players, right?
Absolutely. Come on down.
To see my good friend Russ Newth.
That's right.
Good man he is.
That's right. Are you available on that weekend?
Actually, I'm not. I'll be in Jamaica.
Yeah, you got to get up pretty early in the morning to book this guy, folks. So set those alarm clocks. The new coach of the Jamaican Seven squad, trying to qualify for the Olympics, Stephen.
That's correct. Yep.
Will they be doing a cameo in at the Bloodfest Sevens? No. Huh?
Finances do not permit us to travel to Texas, unfortunately.
Well, there's a lot of
Hey,
Texas.
next year.
Come on, Chris. There's a lot of Texas oil money down there. Let's raise some cash. Get the Jamaican team up there.
We're trying to get our hands on it every chance we get.
All right. So in all seriousness, after that, you've got the Open division. What are the rules on that?
Open are the same rules, traditional IRB sevens rules. So it goes Premier, Open, and Social. We have traditional IRB rules, and then when we jump down to men's Super Social, we actually have a different set of rules for our Super Social.
Yeah, you gotta walk us through some of these rules, because from what I gather, you could get some points without even scoring. Is that right?
Well, actually, so there's no kicking. So there's no kicking for points. There's no conversions. We do offer 3 different point values in the try zone. Super Social is traditionally your 15s props. Some guys that don't traditionally play sevens come out for a good time. There's some
larger
different
friends.
I'm sorry?
Our larger friends, right?
Absolutely.
The engine room guys, yeah.
Yeah. And then we also have a sin bin. If a side scores over 2 tries, the person to score that third point has to sit in the middle in the soccer circle.
So you go to the sin bin if you score a third try for your team, or you are a third try scorer.
You are a third try scorer, correct?
So you go to the bin if you score a hat trick in the super.
Correct.
Okay, that's.
Well, if you score the third points for the team, yeah.
Okay, all right. So
it's pretty fun. We try to keep it lively, keep it fun. Guys come out with some clever team names and whatnot, so it's a good time.
That's good stuff. All right, so you got the capacity for 90 teams. How can teams still get into the tournament?
Absolutely. We still have registration open till June 7th, and that's at bloodfestsevens.com. Just go online. It's an easy process to get signed up. And if there's any questions, of course, you can email us at info@hunsrugby.com, or on the Bloodfest site, there's some contact information.
And if I'm not mistaken, also, it's got synergy between certain clubs down there, the Huns, the Blacks, the Valkyries, and the Sirens, and also San Marcos.
Correct. Yes. So we do have some partners in this venture. Every year, the Blacks help out with some materials that we need, such as goalpost pads, because it's hard to put goalpost pads on full 8 pitches. The Valkyries have helped out tremendously. They're what we consider our sister club, who just had a great run at 15s, got second in the nation. We all kind of join together and help out our local, We Are Blood is what it's called, our local blood drive center. And so we actually have something going on right now where you can go in, donate blood, give them a code, and then that code gives points to the different teams. And there is a prize for that. It's cost based on, or it's money based on how many donations there were.
Excellent. And, that brings us to, we're running out of time on this segment, but I just wanted to come back to the origin of the name of the tournament. It's got something to do with the blood bank or the blood and tissue.
Correct. The Blood and Tissue Center, which is now known as We Are Blood, is a great partner. Every year since the origin of Bloodfest, we have partnered with We Are Blood to put this event together and to try to get donations increased in the Travis County and Austin area. It's pretty tough to get the Blood and Tissue Center to come out and take blood on a 100-degree Austin day during a rugby tournament, but we do.
Well, they don't need needles, or they could just they could just collect it as you put a cup there.
Sometimes.
Stephen, any final thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean these domestic club tournaments are very, very, very important. So people have to understand that this is where players, get their first crack at it, get their first chance in competition. So we want more of them. We want better ones. And Bloodfest Sevens is, is pretty well known. So I wish you all the best, Chris, and say hi to Russ.
Hey, thank you so much, and huge shout out to Rock Rugby in Round Rock, who helps run our high school brackets and our youth brackets.
All right, my friend. Thank you, and thanks for coming on, taking the time out. On that note, we are out of time. So on behalf of Mr. Steve Lewis, Mr. Chris Hansen, I'm Matt McCarthy for Rugby Wrap Up at the Fantasy Sports Network, Studio 34 in Midtown Manhattan, signing off.